Welcome back to Imperial Gaming and this 2000 point Eternal War mission. We're playing the Relic and we have two armies together today. We have the Adeptus Mechanicus stroke Skitarii stroke Imperial Knights versus the Crimson Fists. This small part of a war-torn planet has recently seen much devastation. You can see here on the battlefield the remains of what must have been some Space Marine chapters drop pod assault. Clearly they must have been attacking the tower. There's not a lot moving, not a lot happening here. However, in the centre of the battlefield, surviving the devastation, is one lone Tau Ethereal. Today he is the Relic, and he will be the target that the two armies that are coming to this battlefield will be looking for. And at the beginning of each player turn, we will roll a scatter dice and a single die 6, and he will move. He may make it easier for the two armies, he may make it harder. And then any army that comes into base contact with him will then deem to have captured him. And then he is the Relic, and he will score points at the end of the game as in a normal Eternal War mission. So let's go over to the armies and see what we're up against. Forces of the Omnissiah. We have from the Cult Mechanicus rulebook codex, we have a cohort Cybernetica. So we have some of these Robbie the Robot type machines, which are pretty tough. Not the prettiest looking models, but they are pretty tough. They're one formation, they count as one unit. From the Imperial Knights, we have a Knight Paladin. He has the Skyfire weapon at the top, the double shot battle cannon, and a destroyer close combat weapon. From Skitarii, we have two Onager Dunecallers, one which has an Icarus array, one which has a neutron blaster. Both of them have got the upgrade with the Cognis manipulators that give them the it will not die rule. We have Ballesteros, so this is a twin linked autocannon, fast moving walker. We also then have a Vanguard squad, some infiltrators and some rangers. So all in all, that's 2000 points on the nose of Mechanicus. And with the 2000 points of Crimson Fists, we're led today by a Chapter Master in Artificer armour with the Storm Shield, the Shield Eternal, with a Combi Melter and Power Fist. He's moving along with a Stern Guard squad, and they're going to be flying in the Storm Raven gunship. For the troops choices, we have 3 tactical squads with Razorbacks with las cannons. We have an Ironclad Dreadnought in a drop pod. We have a Terminator squad, and we have a Terminator assault squad with a dedicated transport in the form of a Land Raider. So let's go over to deployment. So end of deployment for the Crimson Fists. We've got a line of Razorbacks carrying all the troops here. We've got the Terminators standing in the middle of this pond, together with the Land Raider here. We've got the Storm Raven in reserve together with Stern Guard and the Chapter Master. We have a drop pod coming in on turn 1 with an Ironclad, and we have a squad of Assault Terminators within that Land Raider ready to come out and play. So across here, forces of the Mechanicum have counter deployed. We have an Onager here, an Onager here, ready to try and put some hurt on the vehicles. We also have the the Rangers over there. Imperial Knight deployed directly in front of the Relic, and then over here we have the Castellans. So we've had an infiltrating set of guys here who are very close to the Relic, and the only thing that remains is to try and steal the initiative. And we do. So turn 1 movement for the Mechanicum. We've got some instructions from above. So the Doctrina Imperatives, we're giving +1 to the ballistic skill. Normally I do +3 on turn 1, but over here there's a very good chance that these guys here are going to be assaulted by Terminators from that Land Raider, so I don't want to nerf their close combat abilities. And then for Canticles of the Omnissiah, we've got Benediction of Omniscience. So we've got reroll failed rolls to hit for shooting. So movement is complete. The Castellans have moved forward, as have the Vanguards. The Infiltrators moved forward. They didn't move through cover. They needed a 6 to be able to reach and hold the relic. They ran short, so they've stayed back a little bit. We had a little shuffle forward from this Dune Stalker and this one as well. The Knight has moved across, ready to take a shot down over here. And finally the Rangers have moved forward to the edge of that terrain. So that's the end of the movement phase, turn 1. And let's go into shooting. So Mechanicum turn 1 shooting. Just one note very quickly, we had to remove the gun off the top of the Knight because I forgot to put the points in for it, so it doesn't actually exist. So my bad. So we've done a lot of shootings come this direction. 20 plus shots have been fired and hit the Terminators, and 20 plus saves have been made. So no wounds taken there. We had a direct hit on the Land Raider with the neutron weapon from the Onager back here. Strength 10, but it bounced off the armour. The only thing that we have managed to do is to get first blood for killing this Razorback here and spilling the troops out. They're not pinned, so let's see what happens in Crimson Fist's movement phase. So end of Crimson Fist's movement phase, turn 1, and we've seen a very aggressive response. The squad that were tipped out of this Razorback have moved in here with a view to putting some shots down across the battlefield. Both of these Razorbacks have moved forward, both squads have deployed. The Relic scattered slightly towards the Imperial lines just at the beginning of this turn, although it stayed still last time. So we've got 2 squads of tacticals here, looking straight at the Infiltrators. The Terminators have moved forward again. Here the Land Raiders moved forward, and the Assault Squad have spilled out, and they're only 6 inches from the Imperial Knight. And then finally, to start the offence, the Ironclad has dropped in here, directly behind the Onager with the Skyfire options, and with a view to putting some flames through and in onto the Rangers in the background. This could be a very brutal turn of shooting, so let's see what happens. So end of Space Marine Crimson Fist's turn 1, and these 2 squads here, they opened up, and with the use of their bolter drill have decimated the Infiltrators. We have just the Princeps left at the back and one guy on 1 wound. We then had las cannon fire from here, here and here that have come through on the Imperial Knight. The ion shields flared and protected 1 hit, but 1 did manage to get through and 1 hull point was done. And then finally at the back, the Ironclad flamed through the back of the Dune Stalker and has managed to kill a couple of guys from the Ranger squad. Unfortunately, with a roll of Snake Eyes +1, the missiles from the top completely missed. So now we'll just go over to assault phase, and there's only one to declare, which is the Assault Terminators against the Imperial Knight. So as the dust settles after the turn 1 assault phase, the Terminators charged in. The Imperial Knight swung its destroyer weapon, hit once, and then rolled a 1, so no damage done to the Terminators. They then struck and got a phenomenal number of hits, but only managed to inflict 2 hull points. So the Imperial Knight's down to 3. It then followed up with a couple of stomps, and some unfortunate unlucky saves caused 2 of the Terminators to die. But we remain locked as we go into turn 2 for the Mechanicum. So here we are at the beginning of the Mechanicum turn 2. Movement phase has been completed. The Castellans have moved across and are heading in the general direction here. The Iron Strider has moved down, looking to try and hurt these guys hidden in the building there. The Infiltrators have boldly charged forward and grabbed hold of the Relic, and they're planning to assault these chaps. So that may be short-lived, but we'll see how they get on. The Imperial Knights still tied up in combat. The Rangers have moved forward to give themselves a firing position down through here, and then finally the two Onagers have positioned themselves to try and see if they can do something to this horrible, nasty ironclad that's dropped in amongst them. So that's the end of movement. Let's head into shooting. So end of shooting phase turn 2 for the Mechanicum, and it's official. I hate the Crimson Fists. They've made so many saves, it's unbelievable. Despite all of these lot firing through, these guys here with their radium weapons, these guys over here, all I've managed to kill is 6 Space Marines. And even then I only just did it. The Iron Strider here popped a shot through here and managed to take 1 hull point off of that Razorback and shake it. And over here, both Onagers fired through, trying to immobilise this thing, or preferably kill it, but we've managed to pin 1 hull point off of it and remove one of its close combat weapons. So it's reduced its ability a little bit, but not a lot. So that's the end of the shooting phase. We have got some assaults to declare. We have this unit here are going to assault this squad. The Iron Strider is going to try and make it in here. Bearing in mind it gets +3 inches on its charge range. And then we've got the ongoing assault here. The only other thing remains is, do I charge with this one or not? I don't think I want to, because there's a good chance the Storm Raven's going to come in and I want to be able to use Interceptor on it. So let's see what happens. So end of the assault phase. On a double 6, the Dune Strider here made it in and managed to do 1 hull point on the Hammer of Wrath, and then a second hull point. It had already taken 1 previously, so that Razorback is now destroyed. Then moving to here, we managed to get in, took no wounds on Overwatch, no wounds in combat, and with their neurostatic aura reducing leadership, initiative, weapon skill, etc. I managed to kill a few guys and we stayed locked. But the big news over here, I managed to kill 1 Terminator in close combat, and then the remaining 2, they managed to get 1 penetrating hit, and then a roll of a 6 followed by a roll of a 5 meant D3 and 3 hull points onto the Imperial Knight. It then scattered, landed straight on top of the Dune Stalker here, and unfortunately rolled a 1, so no damage taken. But these guys are now free to wreak havoc wherever they want to. So that's the end of the Mechanicum turn 2. Let's see what happens in turn 2 for the Crimson Fists. So end of the Crimson Fists movement phase turn 2, and things are changing fast. The Ironclad Dreadnought has moved forward, looking to take on this Onager. The 2 Terminators that were successful in killing the Imperial Knight have moved forward, looking to deal with this small Ranger squad that remains. The Land Raider here has just swiveled on the spot with a choice of targets, with this Onager back here, or to join in the fight on that Onager there. The Terminators had a decent run move through cover in the movement phase. They're ready to join this fight to try and deal with the Infiltrators. This Razorback's moved forward with a nice clear unobstructed view of this one, and whilst the Death Star unit here is still alive and untouched, the Chapter Master has arrived in his personal transport with his Stern Guard squad, ready to try and put some shooting down on it this turn, and then to turn out of the vehicle next turn and assault them. And then just one other thing that's happened, this small squad here have clambered through the windows. They're going to be throwing a grenade at this horrible walker because they're not happy that they've had another unit destroyed by it, and then they're going to try and assault it and see what happens from there. So let's move straight into the shooting phase and see what the Crimson Fists can do. So at the end of the turn 2, and I can't believe this is only turn 2, it's been completely brutal. The Storm Raven has come flying in here, unloaded its weapons and taken 2 wounds already off one of the robots. The squad here did throw a crack grenade, but they didn't manage to do anything to it. These guys are ready to join the assault. This Razorback and this Land Raider both fired through and have done 2 hull points to this guy. He's shaken, so he can't fire his blast weapon, and he's also immobilized, so that's not great. So now we'll move straight across to the assault phase. That was a mixed assault phase. So we started here. We managed to kill a couple of guys on Overwatch. They lost the combat, went to run, and unfortunately I managed to keep them locked in combat. I'd have preferred it if they'd run. So that fight will continue. Here, as predicted, the power fists of the Terminators literally mullered the 2 remaining infiltrators. So that's them dealt with. They're not holding the relic at the moment. And just here are the Death Star squad. So we'll see what happens with them this turn. And then across here, all bar one of the Vanguard were destroyed, but he decided to hold into the fight, see how things go, and the Ironclad just tore the Onager into little pieces and is moving across to decide where he wants to go next. So that's the end of turn 2, and for the Mechanicum we've essentially got this Death Star unit, the immobilised 1 hull point can't do much Onager here, and 3 Vanguards and the Ballistarius. Whereas the Space Marines, they've got their Chapter Master with a Stern Guard squad here. We've still got the Razorback, we've still got the untouched Land Raider, and this squad of Terminators here. And still with these guys here, it's not looking good. Let's see, can we pull something out of the bag as we move into turn 3? Turn 3 for the Mechanicum, and the Onager has stayed put because it's immobilised. The 1 remaining Ranger is locked in combat, so it's over to the Vanguard, who have charged forward bravely and captured the relic right under the noses of the Crimson Fist. Meanwhile, the Death Star unit of Castellan robots has charged forward over the terrain and is looking to try and hurt, if not kill, the Terminators. We're going to shoot as much as we can at them, and then we're going to assault them. So let's see what happens in the shooting phase. So the shooting phase is finished. We've managed to clear out 2 of the Terminators. Loads of shots came in on these 2 Space Marines here, but they seem to have weathered the storm. So we're going to move into the assault phase with an assault from this squad. These guys are going to try and make it in onto the Termies, and then we've got the ongoing assault here and the ongoing assault over there. So let's see if we can make it in. Interesting combat phase. Here the Marines managed to stick a grenade or 2 onto the Ballistarius, and they've taken a hull point off of it and immobilised it. In return, it swung at them and slain one of the Space Marines. Then moving across here, we managed to get into combat with the Vanguards, and we both killed 1 of each and we stay locked. And here the Castellans failed the charge by the thickness of a gnat's wadger. And then over here, the 2 Termies finished off predictably the Ranger and are moving this direction. So that's the end of assault phase for turn 3 for the Mechanicum, and we'll go across to Space Marines turn 4. So Space Marines movement phase turn 3. It's continuing to look bleak for the Mechanicum as the Terminators have moved forward looking to shoot and then assault. The Assault Terminators have moved around looking to assault. The Ironclad technically can make it in on an assault. The Storm Raven has dropped into hover mode. Out have jumped the Stern Guard with their special issue ammunition, and the Chapter Master has detached himself from them and looks like he's planning to go in an assault as well. So that, together with the ongoing assault here, this is going to be almost everything tied up in close combat. You have the one fight continuing there. Even the Land Raider has repositioned itself, just swiveling on the spot to put as many shots in as possible. So let's see what happens as we go into Crimson Fist's shooting phase turn 3. So Space Marine shooting phase turn 3 is finished. Almost everything has shot down at the Castellan robots to some success. So 2 of the robots are now gone, which has decreased their ability to fight back in close combat. So all we need to do now is move across to the assault phase, and let's see what happens. We've got the Termies coming in, we've got these guys coming in, this guy is coming across over here. The only interesting things that happened was the shields on the Castellan robots that can potentially reflect fire managed to kill one of the Terminators by reflecting it, and 2 of the Stern Guard back here. So that was an unexpected bonus, but let's see what happens. So end of Crimson Fist assault phase turn 3, and it has been pretty brutal. The 2 Space Marines here managed to grenade the Ballesteros out, and they've consolidated in this direction. The Sergeant of the Tactical Squad here has managed to kill another one of the Vanguards, but the Vanguard leader has managed to stay held in combat with him, still holding the Relic. And then here, the Robots squad have been nerfed. So there's 1 robot remaining. Both of the Data Smiths have been killed. That was done by the Chapter Master with his Power Fist. We remained locked, but in return we managed to kill 2 Terminators, so that's not going to last very long, especially as the Ironclad, fresh from its victory over the Onager, is very, very close. So let's see what happens in what will probably be the final turn of Mechanicum. End of the Mechanicum shooting, movement and assault phase, because everything was locked in combat. We traded blows here with no effect to each other, but here the robot's been dragged down. It did take 1 Terminator with it, kicking and screaming, but the Chapter Master is easily a match for this guy. So let's move on into Crimson Fist's turn 4. So end of the Space Marines turn. Tactical Squad here have moved forward to try and provide support. The Storm Raven has moved around here to give covering fire, but it's not needed. The Ironclad charged into combat, didn't do anything, but the Chapter Master cut down the Warlord for the Mechanicum army. Over here, the Land Raiders moved forward, opened its doors, ready to take receipt of the Relic, and the Ethereal has been captured. The remaining Alpha was cut down by the Stern Guard, who charged around and joined the fight, making short work of him. So I hope you enjoyed this game. That is the end of this one, but we have got a couple more interesting battle reports coming up very, very soon. We have a 4-player, all against all, 2,000 point army per player. Should be up in the next few days. So hope you enjoy, like and subscribe. See you soon.